I suppose the last week was just absolutely covered in McGregor Mayweather presser tour. Where was it? LA, Toronto, New York, and then over to London. Just an overall sense. What was your? I know you had an article for it in Bleacher Report. We should mention that as well. Jeremy writes for Bleacher Report amongst other people. I know you wrote an article, but tell us, what did you think overall of the whole press tour? Was it a success or a failure?
I mean, look, I think you should separate it into two press tours, because after the first 2 days, things kind of went off the rails. And I wrote a story about that, and not in a good way. Sometimes these things go off the rails. Monday and Tuesday were already off the rails, but in a good way. Like, it was so weird. You couldn't turn your eyes away. Whereas, by day 3 and day 4, you had to kind of turn your eyes away because it was so offensive at parts. Mm-hmm. I think those last 2 dates did more harm than good. And I still don't know why they went to London and not Ireland. I mean, I get London being a big business capital, but just that visual of another press conference in Ireland would have made it all worth it. I think it would have made people forget about that awful New York appearance at the Barclays Center. And I don't really know why they did it. I still think they should, but I guess at this point it's probably too late. I mean, look, if you just take them in a bubble and you take those first 2 days, especially the one in Toronto, if you just take the one in Toronto, I mean, by the time that ended, I was sitting here going, okay, this is going to do 6 million pay-per-view buys. Whereas before, I didn't think it was going to beat, the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. And the truth is I guess I thought that because you could tell that these two guys actually like each other, and you could just see that Mayweather is delighted to have somebody to actually build a fight with him. But then they started getting a little weird and saying offensive and sometimes racist things on day 3, day 4. Kind of lost me at that point. But up until then, man, I was all in, and I'm still all in on the fight. Well, maybe not so much the fight, but the build up to the fight. I'm all in on that. I'm excited for it. It is an exciting time. It is something that I don't think we're ever going to see replicated again, at least in terms of a UFC guy fighting somebody like that. Yeah. So I want to enjoy it while we can. Sometimes it's harder than it should be to enjoy it, but yeah, it's kind of surreal though, Sean, right? Like, I mean, just seeing this, like, what in the hell is happening right now? It's crazy. So weird.
Like, it's like, I never thought this would happen. And the fact that it's happening, it still kind of hasn't sunk in. And I know there's been a lot of bad parts of it. And we'll get to the racism allegations and the homophobia in a second. But yeah, overall, like, I still think we're in like that bubble of weirdness. And it's weird because I think looking at the 4 press conferences, I think MMA and to a lesser extent boxing, but boxing as well, it's kind of their world. We're used to people fucking them blind at press conferences and, calling people hoes and saying, I'm going to fuck you up and everything. But like the outside world isn't per se. And now they're being brought into this, and it's just so foreign to them that they really can't. It's absolutely alien to them altogether. Now, I think a lot of people are saying, calling this a circus and everything. And that's exactly what it is. It's a circus, and it's a circus because people, people go to the circus. They go to see clowns. they go to see elephants. Yeah, but people do, and that's what they're doing. This is a circus to sell the fight, and I think people have a huge inability, I think, outside of combat sports to see that this is actually prize fighting, and this is you sell a fight and then you fight. And you've said it for a long time. This is very close to sports entertainment. More, and I think you've said it's not a sports, but it's more close to sports entertainment. I think it's sports entertainment until you step inside the cage or the ring, and then it becomes a sport. Like McGregor, like he's like a pro wrestler, like Mayweather has. Remember Mayweather with the big sombreros and things going into these fights, coming up in like a king's. Whatever you call it, being carried in by 4 people into the ring. We've seen this down through the years in prize fighting, and this is really no different. So, look, I think the 4 press conferences, obviously the first one, McGregor was kind of caught unawares. He still did okay looking back at it, but I think he didn't do as well because we were thinking it was going to be like 10-8 rounds from the very start. He was going to destroy Mayweather, and he just didn't. The second day he came out, and he really did. I described it as a cross between Jeff Ross and Jim Ross. I think that's what it was. It's like a WWE roast battle. The third day, it just was absolutely terrible. Definitely McGregor's worst day. And the fourth day in, McGregor came back and was better again. And we obviously had the terrible remarks from Floyd as well on that day.